Good evening, or good afternoon, rather. Welcome to the Wareham Planning Board meeting of Monday, October 10th, 2024, in the multi-service room, 520 48 Marion Road, Wareham. This is being broadcast via Zoom and Wareham Media.
You have another copy?
I'm going to call the meeting to order and take a roll call. We have... Oh, what day? Oh, it's not Monday. It is Thursday. Thank you. I'm corrected, Thursday. I'm going to take a roll call. We have two members of the board participating via Zoom. I'm going to start. Jane, could you please announce yourself?
Jane Gleason here.
And Sam?
He's muted, yes, unmute.
You're muted, Sam.
Sam Corbett here.
Thank you.
Mike Baptiste here.
Julie Moran here.
Great. Okay, so for tonight,
Carl here.
and the chair, Carl Schultz, is present. Thank you. We have two items of business tonight. First, just a question. Did we distribute the minutes for the 23rd? I know Patty and I went through. I don't know that they went out to the board members.
I don't have a record that they did.
Okay, so I'm going to pass on discussion of the minutes of the 23rd, and we will discuss that at our next meeting. The item, just a question, John, is the applicant on video? I know Ms. Morton said she had a conflict.
I do have the email address that I confirmed with Josh is one of the applicants, yes.
Okay, so they're there. Okay, so...
And we'll have to let them into the meeting if you want to hear.
Yes, great. We're not taking testimony. I'm going to go over that. So tonight, the order of business is we're going to continue the discussion of findings of fact and conclusions of law on site plan review special permit for 370 County Road. The presumption is that we will end the discussion of the findings of fact and conclusions of law, and I will look for a motion to end that. Not yet, but I'm just the order. We'll end that discussion. Then I'll look for a motion to open deliberations and discussion for a possible decision, and then conditions should the decision be positive. So that's basically the process.
And Carl, just a reminder, will not be able to vote tonight.
Yes,
Okay.
I know.
Good, just so everyone's aware. Yeah, I know. I know you knew.
I have that in my...
Yeah, gotcha.
When we get to the deliberations on that, I'll mention that. Okay. All right, and also I will remind everyone, and I know there was some frustration, this is not a public hearing. The public hearing is closed. We really can't take new evidence tonight because that's done. But if someone has a question, we can, depending on what the question is, raise your hand and we'll discuss that. All right, so we deliberated at length on a draft decision document. We made some updates and changes which were captured in the minutes that Patty put together, but Josh has done a yeoman's effort to edit. So I'm opening continued discussion on those conditions. Oh, excuse me, the conditions in the deliberation on the findings of fact. Any comment from the board? Any questions?
I had a few. There were just some, Josh did a wonderful job integrating everything, integrating all of our comments, so I want to commend you, Josh, for that. I do think there are, excuse me, a few typographical errors that I think we can resolve.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Only typos. If we're gonna make
Correct.
changes to the material content, then we need to deliberate on those.
Yep, agreed.
I did note one or two typos, but.
Yep.
And when we get to, if we do close the discussion, I have some timing and discussion issues on that, so we need to get those we will
Yeah.
need to get those resolved ASAP. So I'm not hearing any discussion, any
I'd like to say one thing. I agree with Julie. Josh did a great job.
Sorry.
Agreed.
yes, there's a lot going on. Mike, any questions?
Nope.
Okay, so I'm not hearing,
I just had one of the conditions, we have applicant, number 8, applicant shall obtain all necessary permits and prior to any site work. And I'm comfortable with that because the issue is the interconnection agreement, but I think we're covered it elsewhere. So I just want to make sure there's no confusion, that that's not a permit, but it certainly is an agreement that it would be a condition of the application if we would agree to it. So, okay.
thank you.
Yeah, but it's covered elsewhere.
I'm not hearing any discussion, so I'm looking then for a motion to close discussion and deliberations on findings of fact and conclusions of law.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Sam Corbett, seconded by Michael Baptiste. All in favor, Ms. Gleason,
Jane Gleason, aye.
Mr. Corbett?
Sam Corbett, aye.
Mike Baptiste, aye.
You can't vote, and the chair votes aye. All right, thank you. So we will get some edits to Josh, final cleanup and edits. I had one minor edit, but I'll get those to you. So the next step in this process would be to, I'm going to ask for a motion to open deliberations and discussion with the intent to take a positive or negative vote on this application. The application is for a site plan and a special permit. Mr. Buckland, I think you advised me we don't need to take 2 votes, or we can take 1 vote, or do you want us to take 2 votes?
Taking 2 would be putting on this belt and suspenders, I guess, in that case.
Okay. All right, I'll ask that we open 2 different discussions and deliberations. And for the members of the town, there are 2 different, site plan review is exactly that. It's a review where we work with the applicant to influence the design of an application. That is not approved or disapproved. It is a review where we negotiate and agree on the site plan. So I'm going to ask for a motion for discussion and deliberation on the site plan,
So moved.
and a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Jane Gleason, aye.
Sam Corbett, aye.
Mike Baptiste, aye.
And the chair votes aye. The second part of our process is special permit for this application, which is required under our zoning bylaws. And that is an approval for denial or approval. So I'm going to ask for a motion to open discussion, deliberation, and possible vote for a special permit for Planning Board 1223 370 County Road LLC, site plan review and special permit.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Sam Corbett, second by Mike Baptiste. All in favor?
Jane Gleason, aye.
Sam Corbett, aye.
Mike Baptiste, aye.
And the chair votes aye. Okay, so we've opened deliberation. Now is our time to discuss what we've heard in the case, the findings of fact, and then find our way to making a decision. I'll either let you speak, or I can go round robin and just do one at a time. How would you like to proceed? Do you want me to just start? Jane, do you have any open to discussion, any opening comments?
Well, I could open with the thoughts in my mind about where my vote stands. And I'm going to start by saying, because I think this is the most important, is that I am absolutely 100% not a proponent of clear cutting. I think the clear cutting for the purpose of creating green energy, the two sort of counteract each other, and I don't know that it's a net win. The flip side of that, I think, is that we have a property owner who is struggling to raise, have the property support itself, so to speak. And so there's the risk that if this does not pass, that they may not be able to continue to own the property and keep it in their family. And so my thinking goes to what the alternatives are going to be, who's going to buy it, and the largest need at the moment is housing. And I think that housing in this location could be as detrimental to the site as the clear cutting that's going to have to happen for solar. And I would point out that I think that because solar has the solar panels and the systems that are going in place right now based on today's technology, it really is a temporary situation. This is not a permanent thing. Whereas I see that if this site, and I know that this is total speculation, but if it were to become a residential site, that's far more permanent in my mind than the solar panels or the solar array. I am hopeful that the state, in its review of the idea of clear cutting, will start to see that. I think that the efforts that are being made by the state to bring solar arrays, large-scale ground-mounted solar installations to fruition, those folks need to get together with the folks who are looking at forest management in the state and who are interested in limiting or stopping clear cutting, because those two groups are not talking to each other and coming to a conclusion. I wish that there were incentives to put solar on the roofs of existing buildings and over parking lots rather than clear cutting, but that doesn't exist at the moment. I wish that there were more options open to this applicant in the way of how they could be using what are now disused cranberry bogs on the same property rather than clear cutting forest. And I understand that conservation is that it says that can't happen. So I just wish that there were more options in that regard. So anyway, those are the things that I'm thinking about. I don't know if that's what you were looking for, Carl, but there it is.
No, thank you. I mean, I didn't have anything in mind. What you said was what you felt. Mr. Corbett, any comments or remarks to begin the discussion and deliberation?
Yes, I'd like to add to what Jane said. I'm really opposed to the states telling us what to do with our property. There has to be some way of merging what they want to do for solar and what we want to do with our town. I think that the town coming in and saying, okay, Wareham, cut everything down. I'm opposed to that. I moved here for the quiet cranberry country that it was, and it's not becoming that. It's becoming a solar array town. Again, I've said this before. There are many things the state could do that they're not even considering. They're not considering the miles and miles of open utility lines and gas lines across Wareham. They're not going forward and setting an example by building a new town, state, or federal building and requiring solar on it. I agree with Jane again. If they want solar and put it on the rooftops, that is a great idea. Cutting down all the trees in Wareham and putting up solar arrays are not the way to go, in my opinion. I just think we have to stop and look at what we're doing. And 10, 15, 20 years from now, when how the town is solar arrays, people might say, what were those people thinking back then? Why didn't they stand up for the town? Why didn't they stand up for other towns? Why didn't they stand up for themselves? I just, when our founding fathers got together, they came up with some ideas. Free speech was the first one. Second Amendment was the second one. The Second Amendment wasn't to go hunting or just to protect yourself. It was to protect yourself from the government from doing things like this. They're imposing their will and their ideas and their philosophies on us. I don't agree with it. I think we need to take a stand, and I think we should get with like-minded towns and cities and say, we need to come to an agreement. You can't just come in and cut down all the trees in Wareham. That's just not fair to Wareham. And this has been going on for years, different hearings on different solar arrays. Comment after comment after comment, letter after letter, email, text, yet from people saying you can't do this. And all the reasons are the wildlife, the ancient ways, all those things that are important. But the safety of the town, the health of the town, long term, I don't think cutting down all the trees in town is going to keep us healthy and keep us safe. There have been many problems with solar around the world, having fires and different things. Right now, we have a horrible hurricane down in Florida. Electric cars are blowing up because they're floating around in water up to the roof and they're blowing up. Something that I don't think anybody thought of, but again, I'm going to ramble. I think the state has to get together with other groups, try to come up with a better idea for long-term protection of the town for safety and for health reasons. And I think cutting down all the trees doesn't help safety or health. I think it hurts both. Just my thoughts, and I've said them in the past as well. Thanks, Carl.
Thank you. Mr. Baptiste, would you like to make any remarks?
I don't want to sing song they're singing, but I'm with them 100%. I feel about the state dictating what goes on in our lives. I think the town itself, the town attorney works for us to protect us, to represent us, and I think it's time we put our foot down and just say no, that's all. People are tired of it. I feel bad for Mrs. Zimmer. I sympathize with her condition and what she wants to do, or try to do. But the thing is, putting solar in every place isn't the answer. She's just a victim caught in the system. I think it would be better served if it was put on top of the cranberry bog. Because if somebody in conservation doesn't like it, got to make some compromises someplace.
Thank you.
Not you, Josh. You wasn't here to start that shit. It was somebody else.
Are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. Thank you. I'll make my introductory remarks, and I'm not going to repeat any of the comments that were said before. I feel strongly about cutting the trees and protecting our environment. I'm going to be more focused on the law as I understand it, and only as I understand it. But before I get to there, I do want to highlight something and build on something that Ms. Gleason said, is we need to consider the trade-offs of land use. This land is land that is going to get used for something. It has been used for years as a cranberry bog or bogs. I don't think that's viable for this site any longer. So I don't think that's going to be an option. Ideally, and I know we have a very active land trust, they've been trying to move properties like this into the trust. That would be a great option. I don't know that that is viable at this time. That leaves us to the option that Ms. Gleason posed of residential development. This property is developed, or excuse me, zoned for residential development. We know that in the adjacent property, We have a 50, I can't remember the count, was it 50, 54, a cluster development. So I'm not sure, no, I can only speak for myself. I believe that building a subdivision on this land would have a larger negative impact on the town and the property and the species than the use as a solar project. So those are my introductory remarks, and those are the things I'm considering. I'm going to allow continued discussion. I did want to point out, and as the three members before me have said, the state is really trying to tie our hands. And pretty much Mass General Law says the only reason that they've given us in law is to deny it on health, safety, and welfare grounds. So we need to, I think, make sure if we're not in favor of the application, we need to identify the health, safety, and welfare negative impacts to that end. So those are my opening remarks. So any deliberation, any further discussion? Would you like to take a straw vote, take a formal vote? How would you like to go? Oh,
There are a couple of things that I'd like to add. I would love to see, I guess I feel like there have not been any alternatives offered, and that's why I'm sort of speculating that it might end up being housing if this doesn't fly. And that was, as I said, just pure soothsaying. But I think that there are some options out there open, and I have no idea which way this vote will go, and that because I don't know, and perhaps it will not pass, and think that there are some other options out there. I think that there's enough forest land there with more than 10 acres available that could be put into Chapter 61A, I believe is the correct number, forest management, which would help considerably with the tax situation for that land. Maybe it's already there. I don't believe it is, but perhaps it is already. But that's something to consider. The other thing that is worth considering is the possibility of some other kind of agriculture on the land that is the cranberry bog. There are ways that agriculture can take place that has nothing to do with digging into the ground. It can happen on top of the ground with those landscape fabric, the textile bags and stuff that gets grown seasonally, and new plants each year. It's, so it's not long-term like fruit trees or something, but so that's something that I would love to see be explored if the case, heads in that direction. So just wanted to put that idea out there. Anyway.
I'd like to add to what Carl said. There's health and welfare issues, but there's also safety issues. We've read and heard so much about these systems failing all over the world. They can't be put out with traditional fire stopping mechanisms. These arrays could cause environmental problems, safety problems. We've known all along about the fire issue, and especially in the wooded areas like we are in the Pine Barrens. One of these things blows, it could be devastating to not only Wareham, to the entire area. So I think health is definitely one of my main issues, welfare, but safety also. I worry about these things being everywhere. And there's one around the corner, another one coming around the corner, and it's just, I know we don't have the zoning in place for denial because of that, but I think we need to consider that for future town meetings, that all of one thing in one area may not be the best way to go. I mean, having you look at the Chad Point, Tahonet, West Wareham units, that is a long string of miles of solar panels. And it could be devastating. And then at the end of that, you have Miles Standish, a huge pine barren, just sitting there as a tinderbox. I'm kind of going on and on about the things I've said over the years. I think we should say to the state, you can't tell us what to do with our town. Don't care what the law is. I think we need to face them and say no. Just we're not going to do it, and we're not going to allow you to do it. And it could go a whole bunch of different ways. I hope it doesn't go a bad way, but I think it's time to take a stand on our town and not let the state tell us what to do with our town. It's still our town, it's not the state's land. And I understand Carl's concern with the law. I'm not as concerned. I'm concerned about Wareham. Thanks.
You know how I feel about it, Carl. And,
Excuse me, I just want to make sure everyone has the opportunity to fully
yeah.
exchange ideas.
The thing is, like, Jane said about alternate ideas, I think it was suggested to the applicant, or the developer, put it on the cranberry bogs. The bogs are vacant, they're not gonna be reproduced as bogs again, but they want to take the easy way. It's all about dollars and cents. It's not cost-effective for them. I think they should come back with another plan and put it on the bog. If they do it in other towns, it works fine. There's no reason why it wouldn't. And it's just the idea that they don't want to deal with it because of the cost. That's the cost of doing business. If you want to do solar, they're gonna have to do it that way. Open space, leave everything the way it is, put it on the bog. In that situation, if I had to vote it down, I would for that case, but otherwise, I'm on the side of Mrs. Zimmer, whatever we can do to help it. And I think that is a solution.
Okay, so my question now would be, does the board feel any further discussion or deliberation would help them, as individual members, make their decision, or are we ready to take a vote? I'm not asking for the vote, I'm asking, are we ready to take a vote? I
am ready.
Ms. Gleason?
I don't think I'll ever be ready, honestly. But I think we need to do this.
Okay,
Carl, can I say something? Or
I don't know.
I don't think I can.
No, I don't think
Okay.
I can. I would, huh?
Yeah, I think,
I think Julie can speak. She may not be able to vote, but she is a member of the board.
right. Just a couple of observations. I'm new to the board. And I am watching where solar farms are being placed. And it is not surprising, but it's disappointing that based on what I'm starting to see, and I'm doing more research I'm doing more research going forward, but we're an economic justice community, and we have a plethora of solar farms, as do a number of other communities that are economic justice communities. I find that very troubling. I think that the state is deaf to that issue. I think that they are deaf to their own law. I look at their sustainable development principles, many of which apply here, but instead they have a law that is quite draconian, actually, in its application. And we, as a community that struggles, find ourselves, it seems, on much to the receiving end of projects that have come before this board. And I think it's a challenge with the law to find our footing on these projects. So it's really, it's a disappointment. Massachusetts has always been very liberal and very thoughtful about how we manage our resources, how we protect our environment, and we are in a very difficult position here, in my opinion, to move forward to protect the health, safety, and welfare. And so we have to look carefully at every project to make sure that we are asking the right questions, we are asking for the right information, and we're getting the right expert advice. So that's my comments for tonight.
Thank you. So, before I ask for a vote, I want to remind everyone that a positive vote for this application requires a supermajority of a 5-member board, which would be 4 of the 5. However, we only have 4 members eligible to vote, so in order for this to have affirmative action, all 4 members need to vote yes. So I'll look for a motion either to...
For continuance, due to the circumstances with 4 out of 5? Is there any associates coming on soon?
You will never be able to get 5 members to vote on this application at this time.
So it's always going to be 4 out of 4?
On this, because of the Mullen rule, a board member could only miss one of the hearings, and there would be no way for Ms. Miranda to make up that gap.
She missed how many?
All of them, yeah. And everything.
Did you watch the hearings, though? Did you sign any affidavits?
It can only be one. One, I have a, I don't know if I'm allowed to do a sidebar with Mr. Buckland. I don't know if that's...
No, you can do it. I give you permission.
Want a motion, Sam, on that?
Can we have a 5-minute break? Motion, a 5-minute break?
So moved.
Second.
I'm ready. Can we bring back on? I'm going to reconvene the meeting. You're going to let Ms. Morton know that we're back?
Was that 5 minutes? Was it a 5-minute recess?
Yeah, it was
Yes,
close
it
to
was.
5 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you for that accommodation, Mr. Buckland's sage advice. Well, I can't stop you from making a point of order. Yes, as I stated, it is a supermajority, 4 of 5, and if there's only 4 members, then it requires all 4 members.
Okay, because this is an extension, oh, I'm sorry, I was thinking of Fearing Hill.
Well, no, Fearing Hill is nothing. Fearing Hill is a new application.
I'm sorry.
So, I think the instructions are that we need 4 affirmative votes for affirmative action. Board members, I'm looking for either a motion to either approve or a motion to deny, and then we'll vote accordingly. Is there a motion?
Make a motion we deny.
I have a motion from Mr. Corbett that we deny the application.
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Baptiste. Before I ask for,
Roll call.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I know it's going to be a roll call. I'm thinking what instruction I want to give. I should ask them to state the reasons for their yes or no vote. Yes, because we have to write the decision one way or the other. So when you vote, and particularly on this one as it's a no vote, please enumerate the reasons because we'll have to enumerate them in the decision if you have a no vote. So in this case, a yay, which seems counterintuitive, is to deny the application. A nay would be to approve the application. So be clear when you're voting. If you're voting yay or yes, that is to deny the application. And then, as I asked, if you could just state some reasons so that they're on the record. Starting with Ms. Gleason, this will be a roll call vote. Please state your name.
Jane Gleason, and I'm thinking for a minute because this is turned around to be a denial.
Do you want me to skip and come back to you?
Please.
Okay. Mr. Corbett, please state your name and your vote.
Sam Corbett, aye.
Aye, which means to deny.
A negative vote.
That's an aye to deny. And you're just a couple of reasons.
Reasons I've stated along for the couple of years we've been talking about these. Health, I think there's a serious health potential in the area of water, in the area of Title V systems, groundwater. There's a brook in the area that feeds. Safety, as I've said many times, I think they're dangerous for many, many reasons. I think that the potential fire is paramount. The welfare of the towns, I've stated many times. We need to decide what we want Wareham to be, not what the state requires us to do. We need to stand together and say, we want to make sure that we pick for ourselves what Wareham looks like, not what anybody else tells us to do.
I'm sorry, I would just love a break. I know we just had one, but I would love a break to speak to my client for 5 minutes.
One moment, we're in the vote, so it would be unusual. With what intent?
With the intent that I wanted, well, I can't discuss what I'm going to say with my client, but that it was unusual that I believe this was going to happen at this time. And I haven't discussed with him since the turn of events which have occurred. So I'd appreciate a break to be able to speak to the client.
Mr. Chairman, I disagree. We all knew what was going to happen tonight.
Well,
This is why we're here.
that's a problem, right? Because you have to make a decision based upon the facts, and you already knew what was going to happen.
No, I think he meant that we were going to take a vote tonight. I don't think he meant.
I don't know what he meant, right? So
Okay.
I meant
I think a
everybody knew
5-minute
that we
break
were
is
here
super
tonight to take a
reasonable
vote.
for the amount of time that we've discussed the decisions in depth. We're talking about 5 hours that we were here discussing. 5 minutes, please.
One moment. Is there any, Mr. Corbett said you object. Is there any other objection to a 5-minute break for the applicant?
I do not object.
Mr. Baptiste?
I do not object either.
Okay. Procedurally, before you,
Sure.
is there any, if we do this in the middle of a vote, procedurally, do we create any?
Yes, you've set precedents, Carl. We called for a roll call vote.
Thank you, yes. I'm asking, yes, I'm trying to work it's very unusual. It's the first time I've had to think through this, so.
I think you can go ahead with the break.
Given that this is such an important decision for the town and certainly for the applicant and Ms. Zimmer, I think we can accommodate a 5-minute break.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Be back
On the
in
record, I disagree.
Thank you
When-
for the allowance.
We're not on yet.
Oh, we're
so-
not on formally?
Okay, yes. We're going to move back into session at 5:18. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, we were taking a vote. We had Mr. Corbett's vote. Mr. Baptiste?
Aye.
So an aye is a vote against
Against, yes.
approval. Yes, and some thoughts on your reasoning?
Thoughts on the reason is the state's being unfair to us. as everybody else said, I don't want to repeat myself, and we gave, mentioned to the applicant, he has other alternatives. Put it on top of the cranberry box. They didn't have to disturb it. Of course, they don't want to spend the money for whatever reason. That's the cost of doing business.
Thank you. Ms. Gleason, your vote?
I'm going to vote no. And my reason being that I think Mrs. Zimmer is in a tough spot. And I think that some of the alternatives that I see as possibilities for her to get out of that spot are perhaps more detrimental to the town's health, safety, and welfare. And granted that it takes some soothsaying to get there, that's where I'm at.
Point of order, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
I can't, if you make a point of order, I have limited options.
Is the town council available currently?
Generally,
Bowen?
generally not. I
the
don't know.
votes, they're
I
not available?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Did he advise to give it reasons why a denial or an affirmative?
Did he specifically advise me to phrase my request that way? No. Did
Personally, I'd request a continuance regarding the affirmative or denial, constituting perhaps the approval or denial and the effect of that could happen on the town.
I'm going
You
to
want me to
indulge.
rephrase?
Anybody doesn't notice.
I don't understand.
I'm speaking to him. So what I'm saying is that I believe it's important that Attorney Bowen, who is a litigator, to be here to observe and to answer when you're asking him to give a specific on why they're denying or approving, to be able to comment on that. So I'm asking for a continuance in regards to him being here for a next hearing. So I'm asking for a continuance.
Completely out of order.
Thank you. Yes,
Well, I'm speaking to the chair, so it's not to you.
Thank you, Attorney Morton. Again, wow, we're a lot of firsts. I think I have a couple of thoughts. I understand your request. I understand the reasons for your request. I think because we've already begun the vote, the timing is inappropriate. Also, historically, and I can only speak historically, requests to have the attorney attend these meetings have not been, I don't know what the right word is. We ask, he's unavailable, and town does not support his regular attendance.
Is it that you, I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I'm clarifying. Is it that you ask him for him to be here because perhaps you think that this is going to be a litigious event and he's not here?
I don't want to get into. We've asked in the past. He's not attended meetings.
Did you ask him to be here?
No, not tonight.
Okay.
I'm sorry. No. I didn't mean to imply tonight. I was talking historically.
So that's what I continue to ask, that this is very important for him to be here. Personally,
I hear.
Ken can speak to it, whatever it's out of order, but I think it's very important.
I understand I'm going to say, given that we've already started the vote, I'm not going to accept. I cannot accept it. I mean, that's an option.
The
Right?
hearing is closed, Carl.
Hang on just a minute, Mr. Buckland. I cannot accept her. I can.
Yes, you can refuse to take her action. She suggests.
Do I need to take a vote on, because she introduced it under a point of order, so I do need to consider it, right?
Right.
Okay, so then I think I need to take a vote on a continuance. I'm looking at Kent.
I'm not sure at this point.
Okay, so if,
My point of order was discussing Attorney Bowen being, considering the circumstances, that's very unusual that he would not be here.
I understand it. So now I'm trying to figure out procedurally what I need to do to act on that point of order. I'm not moving from that. If you don't object, Ms. Quirk has been a parliamentarian in the past. If I could ask her, and if she's willing, to advise as a parliamentarian on procedure at this point.
Of course.
Only if you're willing, and I know that I'm putting you on the spot.
Can you give me 5 minutes?
I think we have to be out of here by 6:30.
We'll go in the hallway. We're fine. 5 minutes? 6:30 or 5:30? I'm sorry.
5:30, yes.
5:30.
All right, we're going to adjourn again. Wow, we're crossing all kinds of new procedural bridges here. I appreciate the audience. I'm going to bring us back into session. So before anyone speaks, does anyone on the board, I recognize that I've embarked on a new path that we have no experience on, have any objection to hearing from Ms. Quirk on parliamentary procedure on this matter? Does anyone have an objection?
Carl, I have a point of order. The vote has already been decided. To your point earlier, you're never going to get a supermajority. The vote is already done. I don't see any reason to go further. I respect everybody who's been here to speak, but no matter what we do from this point forward, it's already done.
I understand.
Nothing would make any change. It's done, Carl.
I understand. So you don't want to hear from Ms. Quirk?
No.
Ms.
No
Gleason?
disrespect to her.
No,
The vote is already done.
Okay, so I'm going to, thank you. I'm going to hold for a second. So here's my reply to you. I understand that you're concerned about the procedural process. I understand that you're concerned about many things, and your desire is to bring in an expert to help the board navigate this process. I accept that.
My question is, what is the rush? Why are we trying to, like, we have gone a lot of time. So I think this would be a vote that Attorney Bowen should be here on, to protect the town.
Okay, I appreciate that. So I'm responding to you. At this point, if you believe you're aggrieved by whatever decision this board ultimately makes, you have an appeals process.
Correct, but I'm also a person who lives in town, and I'd love to see the town be able to take another week. We've taken a lot of time on this case, and take another week to be able to say, Attorney Bowen, please be at this hearing.
The problem is that you didn't ask for that continuance until after the vote started, so.
Well, clearly, these weren't things that were discussed, and I feel like there's bias, so that's a separate issue.
Yeah.
In regards to the facts, but I think that for the town, again, I live here, I know it's taxpayer money to bring an attorney in, and I would ask, Ken, who's a planner, to discuss about it.
I've heard your request. The board is not in favor. We've started taking a vote, so. And if you didn't have recourse, but you have recourse, so I'm guessing.
Recourse costs the town a lot.
I fully.
You do have recourse, because Ken told you did do. You could stop it.
When did Ken tell you that?
Our counsel is on retainer.
Wait.
I understand what retainer is.
Okay, Ken, did you advise her that we could stop this process mid-vote?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. I heard your request. I'm going to say no. I understand your frustration.
It's not a frustration. I'm trying to do what's best for the town.
I understand that as well.
Well, I'm trying to
It needs
protect
to
the
not be
town.
arbitrary and capricious what you're deciding. And I
Thank-
just
thank
want to
you.
remind you about that.
Thank you. I'm very aware of it. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, would you entertain the conversation of maybe Attorney Bowen attending the meeting right now?
I will not be attending.
Well, I wasn't going to. Sorry, what did you say?
I've reached out to see if Attorney Bowen was still at Town Hall, because he was in today. He's not at Town Hall, but it sounds like we may be able to get him on the phone.
We've already had a vote, and at this point,
The vote is done.
I'm just giving you the option.
thank you. I appreciate that, Josh. Thanks for the opportunity. I think the vote, we've already taken 3 of the 4 votes. Regardless of my vote, and I'm going to vote, the application is not going to
I just
pass.
want to get on record, so I have it on record for the appeal process, that I did object to this, and I do believe there is bias regarding the votes, and it's not based upon the facts.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Gleason, you did record your vote as nay, is that correct?
Yes.
That would be a vote not to deny. Okay,
Correct.
okay, so I want to be careful about what I say. I actually think that this is one of the better processes that we've had before I vote, because the decision process is now transparent. And I know that some people are not happy with where the decision is going to end up, but at least it's transparent. So, as the chair, I'm going to vote nay for the following reasons. I don't believe the body of evidence, as I understood it, established a measurable impact to health, safety, or welfare that I could see. So I was unable, and I spent hours on this to satisfy myself that I could articulate an impact to health, safety, and welfare, particularly in light of other land use in the area. So the burden is on both the applicant and the citizens to establish the evidence that we can make a finding on. And we're learning to do that. So in this case, I think that the application met the requirements of the bylaws. I think that it met the very broad guidance or mandate that we got from the state. And I acknowledge the state is dictating a lot of this. So that, without going further, it's already been voted down, but I didn't believe we met the hurdle of impact to health, safety, and welfare in the body of evidence for this case. So I voted nay. So we recorded vote of Mr. Corbett, aye. Mr. Baptiste, aye. Ms. Gleason, nay, and the chair, nay. That is 2 votes to deny the application, which in effect results in a denial of the application. Any thoughts, Mr. Buckland? I mean, we're pretty much done, right?
I think you're done, yeah.
Is there any discussion, or there's no point in discussing the site plan because
I think it's just to organize you is to get it in on the signature on the decision.
okay, so we do need to sign, I'll listen
Yeah,
to you.
no worries.
We do
Finish
need
what
to
you're saying.
sign this document. Are you going to have it ready, Josh, in the office for Tuesday morning?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Everyone has to come in and sign the document. Sam, if you're still on your deathbed, I will drive it to your house, lay it on the porch, back up, and whatever. And
We'll make it work.
we have to have this filed with the clerk by the 16th.
I
Days.
understand.
Thank you for your time. Now, the meeting's not over. Do I need to, I don't need to close the, we opened the, there's nothing to close.
I would love a point of order
Okay,
regarding the suggestion about submissions to the board. I guess it was a memorandum that was sent out by the planning board regarding submissions to the board regarding a decision.
oh, findings of fact, you mean?
Correct,
Oh,
correct.
yes. So the letter that I,
Correct. Was that ever done before?
no,
Prior?
never,
There was no precedent to have
None.
that done?
none.
Okay. And
In
you
this town,
submitted-
in
Okay, in
this
this
town.
town. And did you ever, who did you allow people to, or sorry, strike that. Who was allowed to submit to you findings of fact?
Citizens,
Tony recommended it.
wait, just one, if you're.
Citizens?
Citizens, did I, and I can tell you who submitted, but did I run a test of, what's the word, advise me? Are they, no, not residents. Do they have standing? There is, I understand, is that where you're going with this?
Well, I'm just curious, did they have standing? Did you run it through council to figure out if they had
Council,
standing?
yes, I didn't run through, do they have standing?
You
I-
didn't run through council if they had
Wait,
standing?
excuse me, I was
Sorry.
saying, I ran this process through council.
Okay.
He helped me draft the letter, and he advised that I should listen to any citizen who submitted evidence. So I can tell you, we got submissions from 4 people. or
Any
four-
citizen? I'm sorry, I'm
Wait,
just trying to
wait, yeah,
clarify.
four entities, okay?
Just any entity?
Wait, no, I'm going to tell you who it was. Slow down.
No, I don't care who it was, but like, I'm curious.
Point of order, what are we
Submit to
doing?
this. I'm asking a
Like,
question,
what we're
Mr. Corbett.
doing.
I appreciate we
We're
let
done.
you
It's
hear
not on the
you.
agenda.
We heard
It's
you.
not a
I'm
discussion.
asking from the chair, what was the process?
As on the 12th to the 9th, we accepted findings of fact. I got a submittal from you. I submitted one. 2 citizens, if you don't care who, got together.
I don't care who.
2 citizens,
Okay.
they are definitely citizens, got together.
Okay.
And I'm sorry,
Citizens, okay,
residents.
residents.
When
Yep.
I said citizens, I
Yep.
mean residents.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're abutters or not. I could, no. And then one other resident submitted
And-
separately.
Again, this is a decision. I want to be very specific.
So
Why there were denials. I didn't hear specifically from the denies why they denied. It's very
That-
important that that gets on record.
I,
Can we please recall that, if you may? Mr. Chair, why they denied this petition?
well, it's on the, it will be on the record. It will be in the final.
So you're okay with how they said they denied it? Well, I'm sorry, I don't want to put words in your mouth. You
I
do not want
asked-
them to say anything else about the denial?
At this point, it's closed, it's
Okay.
done.
Okay,
I very pointedly asked for that because I'm going to
no more
end.
information about why they denied? Okay.
Right. They gave me their input, and we have it.
Okay, thank you.
We're done. The last item on the agenda is our procedural issue, just to make sure we're moving forward. Our next meeting will be the 21st. That meeting is going to be a public hearing on the the accessory units.
Accessory dwelling unit.
Accessory dwelling units, and a public hearing on rules and regs. And everybody left, but during that, and this is really frustrating to me because somebody bashed me because they didn't, we're going to go over some of these procedural things that we're going through, trying to move the process forward with the goal of making things more transparent. So that will be on November 4th. We're going to open the public hearing on Fearing Hill. That was established on September 9th, that would be the date. Excuse me, I'm going to back up to the 21st. We're going to discuss the 5 solar bonds, is that correct?
We can do that as well, yes.
Let's put it on the agenda. Ken and I are meeting with a representative from the, whichever solar company it is. Borrego. For the 5 bonds that expired. And they're going to discuss it, but then I'll put it on the agenda so that it's for the 21st, presumably. That's our plan. Unless we hear something different from them. And then on November, are you rising?
I'm rising to suggest, as your select board liaison, I'm rising to suggest that you also put on the next agenda the question of the use of the Serpent hours allocated to the planning board, that it would be good if the planning board formally approved their use for the zoning bylaw.
Can you send me a note or remind me at coffee tomorrow to do that? So the 21st would be 2 public hearings, discussion of the bonds, and a discussion of using the Serpent hours on the 21st.
You'll also have one hearing on a preliminary subdivision plan.
Can we put that on the 4th?
No, it's
already
only
advertised.
45 days to hear it on that one, so
Okay.
we have to do it on the 21st.
Okay, so that'll be on the 21st. Then the 4th will be Fearing Hill. We'll reopen that public hearing. Or not reopen the public, we'll establish a new hearing.
New hearing.
A new hearing.
New application.
New application, new hearing. And the details of the prior applications are still on the town website. The new application is available on open.gov or Viewpoint with a link from, if you can't find it, call me, call Josh, but it's there. I verified it's there. I verified you can open it. I verified that it actually is easier to see on that website than it was on the HTML browser for the town website, and you can download it. So it's there. Josh, do we have any new applications that we need to schedule?
Negative.
Okay, thank you. I'm looking for a motion to close the
I
hearing.
have 2 more things, Carl, please.
I'm sorry?
I have 2 more issues I need to discuss.
Oh, go for it.
Very, very quickly, I want a written report at the next meeting and have it on the agenda about 53G accounts.
What?
I keep being told that we're working on it.
I can't hear you at all, Sam.
I'm sorry. I would like a written report and have it on the agenda to discuss the 53G accounts. Did you get that?
All right, I'll work with the planning office to get that on the agenda. And one more?
Okay. One more, quickie. This come to my light that the selectmen are going to discuss renewals of licenses. We had an issue with Walmart. We found that they were in violation of the permit. They're going to automatically probably agree to the next permit for next year. I think we should ask them to postpone and look at the conditions of the different entities that are looking for their new license and make sure they're in compliance with their permits. It's a way of getting done what we want to get done, Carl.
Thank you. Ms. Gleason, who was going to send the letter to Mr. Turner about, that was your previous clerk job, right?
Yeah, and I've written the letter. I was waiting for it to be reviewed, and I don't know that it's gone anywhere.
Hasn't been sent.
No.
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry, point of order. I have Attorney Bowen online. I know his time.
Not going to hear from him.
You're not going to hear from the attorney for the town tonight.
Wait.
Or
The
even
vote is done.
have
The
Ken
vote is
speak to
done.
him. You're not going to
There's
speak for
nothing he can say to change the vote.
Okay.
It's done.
Hang on.
It's recorded.
Everybody,
I'm sorry, Carl.
I understand. The vote's closed, the session's closed. What is Mr.
Mr. Bowen, I called him regarding, during a break to his absence, and I can let him call Ken directly.
He
That's
could call,
fine.
if he wants to, he could call the phone number. John, can you give him the phone number so we can all then hear him?
Is there a phone number that Zoom can call? Oh, okay. Can you, okay.
It's on the agenda.
He probably doesn't
Rich,
have
are you
the
okay
agenda.
with me just texting in the phone number so everyone can hear? Okay.
All right, we have, that's between, I agree, but I'm going to listen to our attorney.
I mean, this is the attorney who's supposed to be protecting the town. So I think it's
I think the
super
process
important.
for you talking to him, and we've had problems with applicants talking directly with the town attorney in the past. And
I
that,
received a call from him, and he was calling me on another matter, and I asked him,
There's a procedure for this, and this is not one of them.
okay. So we're going to listen
we're
to
not
our...
going to be draconian in our procedures. We're going to think about what's going to cost the town the most money, and what's going to cost the town is an appeal on an unnecessary denial. Sorry, that's my opinion. I will strike that, but that is my opinion.
I appreciate that.
Make a
I've
motion
heard
to
your
adjourn.
opinion. I want to get control of the meeting, please, or I'm going to end the meeting, and we're not going to hear from anybody. I, well, that will work against her in... Do you have any advice for me? We're going to take a 5-minute break while we wait for Attorney Bowen.
Might need to send it.
No,
Point of order,
turn up the
Carl.
sound, please.
Point of order.
Yeah, let me go with it.
Hear me okay?
One second. Sam, can you hear Attorney Bowen?
Carl, is your mic on?
I'm sorry, Sam, can you hear Attorney Bowen?
No.
Have him...
Go ahead, Rich.
Okay, how's that?
Point of order.
Wait,
This
one
is not on the
second.
agenda.
One second.
Point of order. This is not on the agenda.
I understand. 1 second. 1 second. Can you hear the attorney? That's my only request at the moment.
No.
Go ahead, Rich.
Okay, testing, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Anything?
I can hear him.
Okay, so, thank you. Jane, can you hear the attorney?
Yes.
Okay, so, Mr. Bowen, before you speak, thank you for being here. It's entirely irregular, I understand. Please know that on the matter of 370 County Road, the board has voted. Okay? So I'm unsure at the moment what advice you want to give us, and if you want to give it to us in open session. We can't move into executive session because it hasn't been properly noticed. So I'm unsure, I'm in uncharted territory. So,
No, I don't know. It's not that complicated.
And I'd like to
As-
know if this is legal.
With your
Not on the
permission,
agenda.
as I understand it, you have an applicant who requested continuance, and you voted against it.
no, that's not quite
No.
correct.
Okay,
So,
what is correct?
well, we had taken 3 of 4 votes. The application was going to be denied. The applicant rose on a point of order and asked for a continuance. And I'm doing this from memory, Jillian, so...
I'm not sure if it's 3 or 2. Like, I
Okay,
can't tell you for
there
sure.
there had been at least...
One, I thought Mr. Corbett said no, and then I did say continue.
All right,
I don't hold me to that.
there were at least
one.
at least one no vote, and because of the supermajority, the application would have been denied. We deliberated on, her request was a continuance. We deliberated on that. The board, we didn't actually take a formal vote. I acted based on listening to the discussion to say, no, we're not going to accept the continuance because we've already started the vote. Then I believe roughly somewhere in there you said, can we get Attorney Bowen here? We deliberated on, you You had already generally you had already left the office. Generally, you don't attend our meetings. And I said, look, we've already taken a vote. I'm paraphrasing. You have an appeals process. That's what I recommend you do. And then in some manner, you magically appear. So the vote is done. We've taken the vote. The application was denied. That's where we're at the moment, and then you have called in.
Okay. Well, with your permission, Mr. Chairman, if you want my opinion, I'm happy to offer it. If you don't want my opinion, I'll keep it to myself. That's your call.
I want to know if this is legal.
I don't know if you can hear Mr. Corbett. He wants to know if this is legal.
Who wants to know what?
Mr. Corbett wants to know if having you on the phone at this point in the process,
When the vote is done.
when the vote is done, is legal.
If it's legal?
That's
yes,
his question.
Yeah, of course it is.
The answer is yes, of course it is.
Okay.
Okay, so Rich, I'm gonna, not knowing where you're gonna go, but trusting that you have everyone's best interest at heart, I'm gonna have a listen as to what you have to say.
Okay. Here's what I have to say. When an applicant requests a continuance, unless there is some remarkable prejudice against the town or against some party, it is my practice to allow that continuance. And that's my practice of having done this for almost 4 decades. Why? Because if there is going to be litigation at some point, maybe there will be, maybe there won't be, I don't know. It's always better that the litigation be about the merits of the case, the substance, than over small procedural matters such as whether a continuance should have been granted. It's a waste of time and effort to have to defend cases over whether a continuance should have been granted or denied.
Okay.
It's a traditional courtesy to grant a continuance. So, whether you wish to observe that traditional courtesy, that's entirely up to you. I can't tell you what to do. But what I can tell you is if there's litigation, and one of the features of the litigation is whether you extended that courtesy, all that does is add an unnecessary issue to a case.
Okay, so just a clarification. Does it matter that we had already voted and the case was lost when they asked for the continuance?
Just take a motion to reopen it, to reconsider the vote, and then whether to vote the continuance, if that's what you want to do.
Okay.
You can do it. You can do whatever you want to do here. I only offer advice.
And I'm trying to make sure we all. So, as my understanding, the reason for the continuance, and you can nod or tell me, is to have you at the meeting. So the continuance would be to not take the vote until you're present. That was the reason for the continuance.
If I could clarify.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. It's not necessarily him here, but it's a discussion with the planning board regarding the decision process and making sure the decision is not arbitrary and capricious of why it's a no. That you just don't like solar. And not you. I'm just.
Okay. So one of the things that I, Rich, from working with you since I've been chair for the last 3 months or whatever, and we're implementing this process, I requested the board members, when they made their vote, I'm going to use my word, and I don't think I said it at the time, to justify or explain or ground their vote. Give us the reasons, because I know that I was going to have to come back and help write the decision. So I wanted to make sure that so each board member did that. And I know what they said, and if I have to help you or give you the decision, I know what we're going to write down. The attorney for the applicant. wasn't.
Well, look, if you continue it, fine. If you decide not to continue it, fine. You'll probably get your chance to explain the reasoning in court. That's up to you.
Okay, but if I were to continue it, and I'm not saying we're doing anything. I'm looking at the team. So we would have to reopen the vote. We'd have to walk back the vote, and then everybody would then be requested, presumably there would be some sort of executive session for you to advise them on how, I think this is what you were saying.
Let's just hold on right there. We're not going to have an executive session about a pending application. That would be improper. If somebody wants to come in and visit me, Josh wants to come in, yourself, anyone, I'll be happy to discuss with you what your concerns are. There are certainly ways we can accommodate that if that's what you want to do. But really at this point, your choices are plow ahead as you are right now, or I suspect just be prepared to explain your reasoning for denying the continuance in court. Straightforward choice, up to you guys. I've told you what I would do, but hey, I'm not on the board.
No, I understand that, but I'm also thinking about the practicalities. I'm pretty sure that if we walked the decision back and then held another vote, continuance in 2 weeks, or 1 week, or 3, we need 48 hours, so whatever the minimum would be. The applicant is hopeful that through some process, you will help members who have voted to improve the justification for their vote. I don't see how that's going to happen.
Yeah. I can't advise you on that right now. I think you have a simple issue to deal with right now. If you don't want to consider the request for the continuance again, just carry on as you are. If you do want to consider it, the motion is I move to reopen the hearing, second discussion. Then if it passes, I move to grant the attorney's request for a continuance until, such and such a date.
Okay.
Second discussion, all in favor, aye. Were there any abutters or anybody who was entitled to notice at the hearing?
The public hearing is not open. This is not a public hearing. This is a...
Okay, so we don't even have that issue.
Right.
So the motions I just gave, the options I just gave you are the options that are in front of you, and really it's up to you at this point.
So one more, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but I want it clarified. If we don't file with the clerk by the 16th, they get a constructive approval. If we grant a continuance, that deadline changes. Is that correct?
If I agreed.
Well, that's right. And Attorney Morton, would you be willing to, in writing, extend the deadline for approval?
Correct. Yes.
Yes. So that takes constructive approval off the table.
Okay, that's why I'm trying to make sure I don't miss that trick. All right, I don't think the board wants to do this, but I will. Can you stay on the line for 1 second?
Yeah, sure.
Can I get a motion to reopen deliberation and so that we can consider the continuance? Does anyone want to make that motion? Rich, I can't get a motion, and I think under Roberts, I could probably make the motion myself, but...
Okay, thank you.
All right, no motion means you carry on as you're going. So anyway, I hope that helped, and I'm sure I'll be talking to you soon.
Yes.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice vacation.
Where were we? Sam, you got 2 items on the agenda, right? I'll have to listen to the meeting. We got Serpent on the agenda for the 21st. Sam wants to have 53G account status. And what was the last item you were adding?
Well, you already talked about the decommissioning bonds. That was my third option.
Oh, that will be on...
The other one was The selectmen are going to
Oh, the
consider
selectmen.
The license
Walmart.
renewals.
Yeah,
the
Walmart
license to
license.
renew.
The licenses,
and-
basically.
So, Jane, what is it, I thought I mean, what did we need to do to get that letter sent to Paul?
I thought that it was going to Rich Bowen to review it,
Oh, did we,
or to Ken, or,
the planning office was going to do that. It went into the, all right.
What I'm saying is, they're going to vote to approve next year's license. My point was, what if they're in violation and the selectmen don't know it? Now, I'm not saying anybody is, but in new territory, this is a way we ensure that things are going by the way the permit's supposed to. We used this once before, and it worked. And I'm not saying anybody is in violation of their permit, but this would be a way of making sure that they are in compliance, rather than automatically renew their license. Does that make my point?
looks like he's
All
writing.
right, so what I will do is I will send an email, and Jane, I'll copy your letter, attach your letter, which hasn't been reviewed yet,
Okay.
and send it to the select chair saying the planning board is trying to raise this issue at this time, and you may want to consider it as you discuss licensing, or some language to that effect.
Is this renewal of licensing somewhere in some rules and regulations or something? Is there a procedure?
It's a
That's
select board,
attached
it's a
to
select board
the
issue,
process?
it's on their agenda.
Well, I'm just wondering if there's a process that's documented somewhere, and it may make sense to add something in there that there will be a review of the terms and conditions, or the conditions of any site plan review that was attached to the license or connected to the license.
That's
I
a
think-
select board process,
That's
so.
correct.
Yeah, and my recollection, it's not in the town bylaws. It's not in the rules and regs. It's also a select board, but also a question for Rich Bowen as well, whether you can tie
But
those
it
two
seems that
together.
it may want to be in the rules and regulations that concern themselves with this license renewal process.
Right.
I don't believe the select board has rules and regulations. They have policy documents.
Okay.
But then, again, this letter, which I apologize for not continuing to bring it up, I believe we were waiting to hear back, and we never did. And we need to
Yeah,
close the loop on those opens.
So I think that it's something that makes sense to review the conditions of any site plan review whenever we can.
That's my
And a license renewal would be a good opportunity for that.
Right.
Okay, well, we'll have to figure out how to do, we generally don't get requested by the select board to comment on license renewals. As a
Right,
matter
but
of course.
perhaps we should make that recommendation to them, that this is an opportunity to make sure that
Okay, so now that we're
license
in
holders
discussion,
are
I
in
would,
compliance with.
I would suggest that it's not our role, that, wait, I want to tell you my thought. The way the process should work is the zoning enforcement officer, once we write conditions and we approve a special permit site plan, it's the zoning enforcement officer's job to ensure those conditions are met. The zoning enforcement officer advises the select board. Now, we have been a very active and proactive board, so I don't see a problem in sending a notice or a letter, but I'm not sure that it's the right process to have them request us to comment on the status of infractions of.
No, I'm not suggesting that we are the ones who
Right.
comment on that. I think that it should be the zoning enforcement officer. That's part of the zoning enforcement officer's purview.
Right.
But I think
We're in
that
agreement that would be the source for this.
Yeah,
here's an example.
a town.
I worked on a project that was an addition, a tiny little addition to a house in Fairhaven. And the Fairhaven building inspector made me draw the whole house as the architect for the project so that they could see the smoke detectors. I think this is a similar chance because it gave them the opportunity to review the smoke detectors. That's just an example. So I think that this is another instant or a similar instance where if we're renewing licenses and it's for businesses or entities that would likely have a site plan review that they've been through and conditions attached to it, here's the opportunity to review the conditions and make sure that they're being followed.
Okay, I will, for Walmart, I'll send a letter for consideration for,
And I think the review should be by the appropriate authorities, not us, because we don't do that.
okay. I will send the letter, and then on the broader question of making a recommendation on a procedure change, we could have that as a discussion in a future meeting, and I'll add that
Yeah,
as an
I think
agenda
it's
item.
a suggestion or a request or something.
No, we could,
but-
we have, because we're running out of time, so we could deliberate
Yeah.
on it more fully, and it would be easier with the
Yes.
two of you
Yes,
physically
that's fine.
present.
Well, and I guess the question
Yeah.
is are there any outstanding notices of violation, which this letter might trigger, which might be a better way to handle it?
Yes, but
Yeah.
the letter never went, that's a problem. That's a different
Yeah.
problem.
But just thinking
Yeah.
about bigger issue, how this might work.
Okay. All right. We need to vacate this space. Is there any other business?
Yes.
Hearing none, I'll look, this is usually, you guys are jumping all over me for this motion.
Motion to adjourn. I already made it once, Carl.
Oh, I didn't hear it. Second?
Second.
By Mike Baptiste, all in favor?
Sam Cohen, aye.
And Gleason, aye.
Mike Baptiste, aye.
You can vote on this, you can vote on this. Julie Moran, aye, and the chair votes aye.
Yay.